Before my partner and I broke up, we had gotten really bad at doing this. And back then, I did not realize how much it was affecting our relationship. I am talking about responding to bids for connection. This concept is huge and it comes from in depth research from the Gottman Institute. Their studies found that happy couples turn toward each other's bids for connection 86% of the time. And the couples who ended up divorced in their studies were only doing this about 33% of the time. That is a massive difference, and it shows how important it is to know all about bids for connection, how to turn toward them, what turning toward even is, and what happens when you turn away or against them, which we are obviously going to dive into today. It can be so easy to miss bids for connection if we don't know what we're looking for. And we're not very likely to turn toward even close to 86% of them if we have no idea how. So turning your bid radar on, as I like to call it, is totally transformative. I love this topic so much. I feel like I say that about all of the relationship topics. I am Lindsay. This is Loving with Intention, and we are diving right in. So we are going to start with, what are bids for connection? Bids can look so many different ways, but they are essentially when one person reaches out for connection. It can be verbal, it can be nonverbal, it can be big, it can be small, but a bid is a bid. And in your relationships, it is your partner trying to connect with you, or you trying to connect with your partner. This could be your partner smiles at you. It could be they make you a coffee. They could tell you about a show that they're watching. They could vent to you about something that happened at work. They could say, hey, check out the sunset. Does your partner send you funny memes or reels? I've heard this from a lot of couples that I work with. Those are bids for connection. Those aren't just funny memes or reels. All of these things that I just mentioned are bids, and there are so many more. Bids are flying around us left, right, and center every day, all day. A sigh isn't usually just a sigh. I mean, sometimes it can be just a sigh. And often it is a nonverbal bid for connection. It is someone sighing, and they would love for you to ask them, how is your day going? Is there something on your mind? Do you want to talk about something? Is something wrong? They want you to check in on them. So innocently in our relationships, we miss these moments. We miss them. All these moments that I was just talking about. Life is full. Our minds are full. There's a lot going on in our minds. There's a lot to do. If you have kids, you've also got bids for connection coming from them, and that can be a lot of bids. It is impossible to turn toward every bid for connection. So just knowing that is good. You don't have to get them all. And knowing just how make or break they are for relationships, turning towards bids is a really, really, really great thing to get intentional about. And I keep saying turning toward the bid. So I want to talk about the different ways that we can respond to bids for connection. We can turn away, we can turn against, and we can turn toward bids. So just to paint a picture, imagine that you are on your phone, you're sitting on the couch, you are scrolling on social media, and your partner comes in the room and they're excited about something and they start telling you about the thing. And you could turn away from that bid by just staring at your phone and going, or by just staring at your phone and not saying anything at all. That would be turning away. It is ignoring that bid for connection. They're coming in, they're excitedly talking to you because they want to share this thing with you. Bid for connection. You could turn against that bid for connection by looking at your phone and being like, can't you see I'm busy? Or I don't want to hear about that. Or, I don't care about that. Those are all ways to turn against. So it is something maybe sharp or critical, something that hurts. Or you could turn toward that bid by looking up from your phone or putting down your phone, engaging with them, making eye contact, listening to them, matching their excitement, asking them questions. Those are that is how you turn towards the bid. They reach out for connection and you turn toward it. And if you're thinking, I can't stop what I'm doing all the time, put down my phone all the time, whatever the thing is that you're doing to turn towards bids, there's actually another way that you can turn toward. So say you were totally overstimulated, you had a crazy busy day, and you had no time to sit down. This is the first time you sat down, you just want to scroll on social media. Your partner comes in, they're all stoked, they want to talk to you about this thing. It is still turning towards, if you look up and say, I'm super overstimulated right now. I just need a little bit of time to unwind. And then I would love to hear what you're sharing because it's important to me. And I'll just be in a better space after I just sit and decompress for a bit. that is still turning towards. You don't have to drop everything. You can still turn towards by turning toward them, turning towards and giving them that connection, showing them that you care. And then you're making a plan for later. Like, I still want to hear about this thing. And, it could be that you're sending a text to somebody and they're expecting a reply back. You're planning something and they're waiting for it right then. And in that time, you can still turn towards and share, I'm just sending this text and then I'll be right with you because I totally want to hear that. That is still turning toward. And another example of that, maybe you are headed out the door. Maybe you leave for work at the exact same time every day because you know exactly what time that gets you to work and it is perfect timing. And as you're on your way out the door, your partner starts to tell you a story that they're excited about. Maybe they just got off the phone with somebody and they want to tell you what the conversation was. It is still turning towards to say, I love you. I have to run to work. I totally want to hear this. So I will call you on the drive, or I'll call you on my break, or let's talk about this after work. I love you. I threw in 2 I love yous. Can never get enough I love yous. So this is still turning towards. You can't always drop everything that you're doing, and that is not the goal. And it's totally good news, because if we want to turn towards our partner 86% of the time, on average, for a happy, thriving relationship, it is good to have options of what turning towards looks like. And I want to share a couple of other examples of bids. So talking about those reels, if your partner does send you reels or they send you memes, you can turn away by not responding at all. You can turn against by, maybe verbally telling them, can you stop sending me those? I don't really care. Or you write that back in a message like, I don't care about these, or that's not funny, or I don't want to see this. Or you can turn towards by just double clicking and liking that, or responding to them, or bringing it up later when you're talking to them. That is turning toward. Them sending you that is saying, I want to share this with you because I think it is interesting, or I think it is funny, or I think you would like it. It's a bid for connection. And another bid could be maybe your partner reaches out to hold your hand. You can turn away from that by just kind of slipping your hand away. You don't really want to hold hands. You don't say anything. You just kind of remove your hand. That's turning away. Or you can turn against by like shaking off their hand and being like, I don't want to hold hands right now. Or, maybe your hand's all sweaty or something and you're like, oh, my hand's gross and I don't want to do this. That's turning against. Or maybe like, your hand's gross, I don't want to do this. Also turning against. And you can turn toward by squeezing it, holding it, continuing to hold it. And like we talked about, there's multiple options for turning toward. Maybe you're not in the mood to hold hands. Maybe your hand or their hand is sweaty. You can still turn toward. I don't know why the sweaty example comes up, but you can still turn toward that bid for connection by giving their hand a squeeze and just saying like, I love you. I don't really want to hold hands right now, but let's cuddle on the couch later. Or by giving them a kiss, or just sharing with them like, I'm just like, my hands are cold. I just want them in my pocket. And then maybe walking closer to them, or just giving them love. You can still turn towards without having to drop what you're doing, or even do a thing that, you don't really feel like doing. So an example from my relationship is, because I work from home, I'm often in the same room as my partner when I am doing work, and I don't always say that I'm doing work. So maybe I'm writing an email, or maybe I'm working on something for a client session, or maybe I'm making content, whatever that thing is, and I haven't told him. And if he starts talking to me, sometimes I'm so in the zone and I don't want to, forget or lose that flow or lose that train. I will turn towards by saying, I love you, and I'm just going to wrap this up, and then I'll be in this conversation. So I love the I love you, and I love that start to turning towards a bid, or even having difficult conversations, because it is a soft startup. It is definitely in line with turning towards. I love you, and it starts with love. Starts with love. Love starting with love. So I have laid out the ways to respond to these really, really important moments of the day: turning away, turning against, or turning toward. And these moments, when your partner reaches out for connection, these are choice points in the day. So it may seem like no big deal if your partner is telling you about a show they watched, or they're telling you about something that happened at work, or about their favorite hobby. But when we start to frame these moments as bids for connection, they go from no big deal to, oh my goodness, turning towards bids can make or break our relationship. This is a big deal. If I want a happy, connected relationship, I get to choose how I respond in those moments. It is a choice point. The last podcast or YouTube episode that I did was all about the love account, or the Gottman's emotional bank account. And the episode is called something like The First Question I ask couples when they say they've been struggling. I think that's what it's called. So I will put it in the show notes. The love account in your relationship is like your relationship bank account. And we want as many positives built up as this cushion in our love account, in our relationship bank account, so it can support us when inevitable hard things happen in our relationship, because our brain is on the lookout for negative things. It is our negativity bias. It is our brain, our nervous system's way of keeping us safe by really looking for those negative things that might hurt us or might be challenging to us. And it also blows up negative things. So it makes them way bigger than perhaps they even are. So your brain is keeping track, whether you realize it or not, of the times that your partner doesn't turn towards your bids for connection. So in the same way, their brain subconsciously is keeping track of how many bids you turn towards and how many bids that you don't, because they notice when you don't, because it doesn't feel good. So we need a lot of turning towards in our relationship for our brain to know that there is good stuff happening. This is why it is that 86% of the time. So I definitely recommend checking out that previous episode for a deep dive on the love account, because bids for connection are one high impact way to fill the love account. Turning towards bids makes deposits in the love account. Turning against or away from bids makes withdrawals. So if you are turning against or away from more bids than you're turning towards, this leads to hurt and disconnection and resentment in your relationship, and maybe even breaking up and divorce. Just imagine in the morning, your partner is sitting having coffee. They're scrolling on their phone, and you were like, oh my goodness, look at the sunrise. All they had to do was turn their head and they'd be able to see the sunrise with you. But instead, they stare at their phone and say, So this is turning away from your bid for connection. And then 5 minutes later, maybe you say, I am so nervous about the presentation that I'm giving at work today. I'm so scared. I don't want to do it. And they respond with, it's no big deal. You've done it before. You're being all dramatic about it. You don't have to get all worked up about it. This is turning against your bid for connection. So maybe you go get ready, and then you go to head out the door, and you look at them and you say goodbye, I love you, and they don't even look up from their phone, and they just mumble goodbye. This is turning away from your bid for connection. Each time your partner doesn't turn towards your bids, it really hurts. Just imagine being in that scenario. A lot of feelings can come up, and you can see how over time you might not even want to put out bids anymore because they just keep getting rejected. If you're not putting out bids often, so now you're in this place of like, what's the point? Why bother? You start to feel really disconnected. No bids for connection leads to disconnection. You're not sharing your heart. You're not sharing cool things like the sunrise. And you might feel really angry. You might feel really frustrated. And expressing that anger can come out through shutting down or criticizing your partner, getting defensive if your partner brings something up. The ripple effect of having bids turned against or away from in your relationship is huge. That is why they saw that the couples who only turned towards like 33% of the time ended up getting divorced. And you may hear that example I gave of the morning and your partner turning against or away from your bids over and over and over. And maybe it's not that hard for you to imagine that, because maybe that's your reality. Maybe your partner doesn't turn towards your bids very often. If that is what you're experiencing, I am sending you so much love, all the love in the whole entire world. I know that that hurts. And I know, it is just so common for us to get into this place in our relationships, to feel so disconnected and so unseen and so unappreciated and not valued. The power struggle stage in our relationships, it's inevitable stage in the 5 stages toward a thriving relationship. And it usually is full of a whole lot of turning away and turning against these bids for connection. And it hurts. It doesn't feel good. So again, I'm giving you all the love. And I just want you to know that even if this has been going on for years, there is hope for things to change. And I have an episode that deep dives the power struggle as well. So I will link that in the show notes too. There is truly, truly, truly hope for things to change, even if you're the only one listening to this right now. And we will get to that shortly. So first, it is just so important to notice how that would feel to have those bids rejected over and over, how it impacts your entire relationship. Again, this is obviously why the Gottman Institute research showed that couples who got divorced were only turning towards 33% of the time. I say that again because it is so important. And if we flip that morning story around and think about the impact that it would have had on your day if your partner turned towards all of those bids. So they stood up and they looked at the sunrise with you. They put their hand on your back and you told them you were nervous for work, and they put down their phone and they were like, I totally get that. You are so going to kill it, but I would be nervous too. Is there any way I can support you in this? Do you want to do a run through of the presentation, or do you want to talk about it? That would feel so amazing. And then when you go to say goodbye, they put down their phone again and they come and they give you a kiss and they tell you to have a great day and they say you're going to rock the presentation and they ask you to, let them know how your presentation went. The difference in that, I mean, just look at my energy as I am saying that. I didn't do that on purpose. It's because it actually feels so good to imagine all of those bids being turned towards. I don't know about you, but I would be leaving the house feeling connected and seen and supported and loved and valued. All of the good things. The way that you respond to a bid for connection literally changes the trajectory of the day in that moment. And remember, these bids are happening all day. So you get so many opportunities, so many choice points to turn toward and shift the trajectory of your day. And John Gottman was talking about what he thought when he really started to understand bids for connection. And he said, this is a quote, maybe it's not the depth of intimacy in conversations that matters. Maybe it doesn't even matter whether the couples agree or disagree. Maybe the most important thing is how these people pay attention to each other, no matter what they're talking about or doing. I love it so much. Happy couples are attentive to each other. They show that they care. They turn towards bids for connection, at least on average, up to 86% of the time. And if you think about your relationship right now and you're thinking, my partner doesn't turn towards a lot of my bids and it doesn't feel good, I am guessing that you would love for that to change, and you deserve for that to change. You deserve all of the love, all of the goodness, all of the turning towards. And like I'm always saying here, you cannot make your partner change. So you could, send them this podcast episode. You could tell them about bids for connection. You might say to them, you haven't been turning towards my bids and I want you to turn towards my bids. There is pretty little of a chance that that's going to spark big change in a lot of relationships. But that doesn't mean there isn't hope. There is hope. There is hope. So I've been talking a lot about, obviously, what it might be like for you on the receiving end of your partner turning away from or against your bids for connection. And if you resonated with that, with them rejecting bids over and over, or you were really able to just drop in like I was in that moment and imagine how that would feel, this is a good moment right now to think about reversing the roles, because this is how you can change things. So just pausing for a moment, not pausing the podcast or YouTube, but pausing in your heart and in your mind and thinking, are you turning towards your partner's bids for connection with consistency most of the time? Are you putting down your phone and paying attention when they ask you something? Are you commenting on the reels that they send you if they send you reels? Are you responding with love when they vent about something? Are you showing interest when they tell you about something that they care about? Are you responding with love when they reach out with touch? Are you thanking them for the things that they do? Are you telling them, I appreciate that you do XYZ? Are you turning towards them with hellos and goodbyes and responding to theirs or initiating? And when you think about those things, if your answer is, I could do better, that's okay. Just giving yourself so much love and so much compassion. This is such a growth opportunity. And like I shared so innocently, we fall into these routines. We miss bids, and you may just be hearing about bids for the first time ever right now. You didn't even know that they were a thing or how important it was to turn towards them. And maybe you have heard about them before, but they've fallen off your radar. You haven't been thinking about them. We get to bring them back into your awareness so that you can turn towards. So if your answer is, I could do better, it is actually great news, because if both you and your partner haven't been turning towards bids, you get to choose to turn on your bid radar, as I love to call it, and start looking for bids, paying attention to bids, and then choosing to turn toward those bids. you'll be filling your love account, which is so important in our relationships. And when I work with individuals without their partners in private coaching, what they find is when they start turning towards their partner's bids with consistency, they start to see their partner turning towards theirs too. And it might not happen right away, but if you start doing it with consistency, with love, and your partner starts feeling seen and loved and appreciated and valued, the ripple effect of that is strong. This is how one person can be the change. You start to feel it coming back to you. And I know I've talked about this before, that it can be super hard to go first. And you're the one here, you're the one listening, you're the one who is clearly ready to change things. This is how change happens, by going first. The alternative, of course, you could wait for them to change. You could wait for them to discover bids for connection. And usually what happens when we wait is that things tend to stay the same or they actually get worse. You can seriously change everything by starting to turn towards bids. And I actually have a short free guide on the 5 common mistakes that we make in relationships that harm relationships and what you can do instead. And that aligns perfectly with turning towards bids and going first in our relationships. And it can support you in making these changes. So I will drop that in the show notes. There's a lot in the show notes today, but it's all good stuff. It is so, so good. And I know, if things are really challenging right now in your relationship, turning towards bids can be really difficult. It can feel like the last thing that you want to do because your partner's not turning towards yours or things aren't feeling good. We can tell ourselves this story that if I turn towards their bids for connection, that means they're going to think that the things that they did that hurt me were okay. So maybe they were critical in the morning and you're thinking, I don't want to turn towards their bid because they're going to think it's okay to be critical. Or maybe they got really defensive when you brought something up. Or maybe they just haven't really been talking or they've been short with you. And you're thinking, if I start turning towards, they're going to think all of that's okay. And just inviting in this perspective shift, if you start turning towards and they start to feel seen and heard and appreciated and valued, you are way more likely to be heard when you start to bring up these things that are hurting you or that aren't feeling good. If you are turning away or against their bids for connection often and not turning towards, then you have this environment where they don't want to hear your hurts. They don't feel seen. They don't feel heard. They don't feel appreciated. So when you bring up your hurts, you're met with criticism or defensiveness or them shutting down or them not caring. And when you turn towards, you start to create this environment of love and appreciation and connection. And of course, like I said, you would love for them to be doing this for you. This is how we create that change. Going first. I am here cheering you on from afar because I know that it is no small thing and you are amazing. Your intentional action for the week is to turn on your bid radar. Look for the bids, notice the bids, and choose to turn towards them. If it's not something that you're used to doing, like I said, or things are really challenging right now, this can be hard. So I recommend starting with whatever feels small, whatever feels doable for you. It makes sense that those feelings might come up of, why should I do this when they don't do it for me? Meet those feelings with so much love. And you do get to choose. You get to ask yourself, what do I want in my relationship? These are really powerful moments. And you can peep the video on the screen here to learn more about the love account and the other ways to fill it. You are freaking amazing. I am sending so much love into your day. Remember that nothing changes if nothing changes. So let's have an intentional week. Bye.